Welcome to the Conscious Classroom, where we explore the future of education and what it means to create learning environments that truly support human flourishing. I'm your host, Amy Edelstein. In each episode, we'll look at how mindful awareness and systems thinking deepen learning and well-being, why inner strength and self-regulation are essential skills for young people navigating our fast-changing world, and how do we thoughtfully integrate synthetic intelligence without devaluing the heart of our humanity. For educators, leaders, and anyone shaping the future of human development, you'll find practical tools and big-picture perspectives to increase your wonder and your impact. Let's get started. Welcome to this episode of the Conscious Classroom. My name is Amy Edelstein. I'm your host, and I'm here to open up a new perspective on downtime. So I'm sitting here right now looking out my window at the trees rustling in the breeze, their branches flowing back and forth. My eyes are resting on a massive tree trunk of a beautiful pine, must be several hundred years old. And I can hear the gentle whish of the eucalyptus leaves rustling against each other. And I'm just watching, not thinking about anything, not doing anything in particular. And much of my summer has been in this posture in one way or another. Now, how many times have you either had a teen in your life or heard a teen go up to an adult and say, "I'm bored"? And with that complaining sound, as if boredom is the worst possible sentence they could experience. And the adult reflex to immediately fill that void. Why don't you read a book? Why don't you call a friend? Why don't you watch a movie? Why don't you work on that project? Why don't you practice piano? Why don't you write the song you wanted to write? Why don't you go exercise? Now, that adult's well-meaning, for sure. But the problem is that boredom is part of what the teen brain needs to develop in the most nuanced and deep way. Now, I remember when I was young, which may be dating myself, but, oftentimes our instructions during the summer were go out and play, go ride your bike, and come back when it's dinner time. There were no instructions. There was no support to entertain ourselves, and we did. And sometimes we just loafed and did nothing. As Walt Whitman would say, I lean and loaf and bite my soul. That's actually what needs to happen for the developing brain. The neuroscientist Marcus Raichle from Washington University coined the term default mode network in somewhere around 2001. And he spent a lot of his professional life looking at what happens in the brain during rest. And the parts of the brain that activate during rest are this wandering mind, the exploratory mind. And the parts that go quiet during rest are our external activities, our tasks, our to-dos, our functioning. In classical contemplative terms, it would be the difference between being and doing, where the meditative mind, the contemplative mind, is all about being, about resting with what is, about allowing one's attention to be vast and not laser focused on anything in particular in order to allow new exploration and new sensing into, feeling into what's possible or what that life current has to tell us. And when we're doing, that retreats into the background. So what Raichle noticed that the default mode network does is that it activates different aspects of our understanding of ourselves. And these aspects are really core to teen development. In fact, they are arguably the central function or task or mission of adolescence, which is to develop one's own individuation, one's own identity, one's set of values, one's purpose, one's direction, one's likes and dislikes, one's self-expression. And the default mode network, which activates when our mind is just wandering, when we're at rest, when we're quote unquote bored, is that part of our brain that works on the questions, who am I? In scientific terminology, they call that self-referential thought or autobiographical memory. It's the part of the brain that ponders the future, that processes the past, that reflects and intuits what other people or beings are thinking and feeling. It's the part of our brain that activates our sense of care and empathy, of moral reasoning and values, our sense of beauty, truth, beauty, and goodness, our sense of meaning, our aesthetic appreciation. All of those things are really coming online during adolescence. And so when we allow our teens to simply be bored, we are giving them the permission and the space to develop these really important aspects of their identity. Arguably, those aspects of their identity that make them deep, caring, kind, sensitive, innovative. It's so important to have that space to do nothing and be. And although I'm well beyond the period of adolescent brain development, I can tell you that this past summer period for me of just being, as much as I was still had periods of doing and working and writing and creating and intuiting the next stage of inner strength education's programs and everything else, my primary focus was simply on being with everything as it is, and the rejuvenation and the lightness of being and the joy and the readiness to dive into projects has filled out so much. It's almost like if you allow a cistern to fill with water before you take buckets out. That's how my being feels right now, having had this time to rest. And for teens, it's even more so because they're literally developing this capacity for self-reflection, this capacity for moral appreciation, this capacity to reflect on who am I, what's my purpose. That's not a primary reflection of a child, of a 5, 6, 7, 10-year-old. But it becomes the reflection of a 13-year-old. It's a strong reflection for a 16, 17, 18-year-old. We need to encourage that time to be, not that smart watch that beeps every 15-minute increment of scheduled time. There's a well-regarded 2012 paper by Imordino Yang, Christodoulou, and Singh, titled "Rest is Not Idleness." And the study is about the implications of the brain's default mode for human development and education. If you're into research studies, I encourage you to read it. I'll put it in the show notes. But I'll give you a quick, back of the napkin summary here, which is really that what they're saying and what their research showed is that rest is an essential aspect of healthy life, and that it's a very important aspect of the healthy growth of an adolescent. And rest is specifically identified as constructive internal reflection. It's not just veg out downtime where, akin to staring at the television or screen for hours on end with popcorn, not thinking about anything. That type of boredom, or that type of being with things as they are, that type of open awareness of that quality of vast and soft and nuanced attention that's not tight. It's got flex, it's got room, is how we do our daydreaming. It's how our memories that are important sink into us. That the lessons learned can become absorbed. It's like we metabolize them, we digest them. And in this period of rest for teens, it's also where they build their social emotional skills. It's where that sensitivity to others, that understanding of how they feel, what their boundaries are, that they have boundaries, that they feel good when they're respected, they feel bad when they're not respected. All of those things start to form and congeal and take shape during this rest period. And overstimulation, whether it's doom scrolling on social media or being overly structured, going from this sports practice to that sport practice, to that homework assignment, to that project development, to that activity, it doesn't give that free activity space to just bounce around. So, if your young person, your adolescent in your life is used to being overly structured and in some ways is afraid of that boredom, you can seed in the suggestion to do some mindfulness-based practices, which do direct the attention, but they work with the intention in a slightly different way, and they invite that free-form wandering. So one of the things you can do is you can invite your adolescents to work with their senses. So in those moments of boredom, what are 5 different things you see? Really open your visual field. And what are 5 different things you see? Maybe you see texture of tree bark. Maybe you see color of grass. Maybe you see movement of something in the wind. So invite them to look for 5 things they see and move past just the immediate objects that occupy their attention, But what are different qualities of seeing that you notice? What are 4 things that you sense with your sense of touch? What are 4 different textures that you either feel without moving or that you reach out and you discover? And what's the quality of those textures? What are you touching? What are you feeling? Soft or hard, fuzzy or smooth, hot or cold? And invite them to challenge themselves. How many different ways can you sense with touch? What are 3 things that you hear? What are qualities of different sounds? What are the personalities of different sounds? Are they boisterous and take up a lot of space? Are they soft and hide in the background? Do they carry a message? 3 things that you hear, and what are the different qualities of hearing? What are 2 things that you taste? Without putting anything in your mouth. And what's that sense of taste? How do you taste from different parts of your tongue? What's one thing that you smell? And what does that smell remind you of? You can see in a sense, seeing freshly reflection like this, in a mindful seeing freshly using our 5 senses. There are so many ways to open up a creative being with what is, a creative being with the information and communication that we're taking in all of the time. And it invites that slowing down, it invites that being with, it invites that sense of peacefulness, of letting the mind wander, of letting it rest on what captures its attention and then flutter away like a butterfly, alighting on the next one with a gentle touch and then moving on. Not forced, not sticky, not confined, that free form being with what is, noticing what is, allowing what we're taking in with our senses to touch us and to communicate with us and to be with us. So this is, though, that's one great exercise to invite your young people to do. And another one is mindful walking with no destination. So Thoreau wrote his famous essay on sauntering, and he recommended it as a practice to go saunter wherever your feet would take you for, I forget what he said, something like 40 minutes a day was his prescription, that allowing the feet to carry you and allowing the fields and the pastures to invite you and to just saunter with no destination, to walk mindfully, feeling your body moving through space, feeling your feet touching the ground, kissing the ground with each step, feeling the soul lift up, feeling the body alight, feeling it descend again with each step, is also part of this boredom of letting ourselves be unstructured, be free. And you can imagine how the goat herders and shepherds of old spent so much time just being, whistling and playing flutes and watching the clouds and, yes, tending to their flocks, but mostly just quietly being. And in that way, we want to invite ourselves to bring that level of contentedness back into our lives and letting that contentedness let the brain do what it does. So in another one of these papers done by Christoph in 2009, there was a lot of activity around this topic in those years that was presented at the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, showed how this mind wandering, this sauntering, this quality of letting everything be and letting our attention be light and happy, a butterfly moving here or there, not aimlessly, not scattered, not frantic, not anxious, just exploring, just being, just delighting in its movement, activates the default mode network and the executive brain functioning. So it allows our sense of autopilot to let our brains make new connections and form new ideas. Steve Jobs famously went off to India for a short period and came back. He wanted to just think freely and came back with some of his most seminal ideas. You know, it's not uncommon to hear stories or, you know, the phrase, my best ideas come in the shower. You know, when you're not doing anything, the shower is a great metaphor. You let the water, you know, flow over you, and you're just enjoying the sensation of that water touching your head or flowing down your face. You don't have to do anything particularly, and then your brain makes those connections. Your brain has the space to form new ideas. And I think that our thirst for innovation and our value of creativity and our pressure to lead with new ideas can shunt us down a passageway that forces more and more structure. And really, the brain science and our own intuition and time-honored practices of contemplation over thousands of years show us that we, as humans, to rise to our highest, to express our fullest creativity and potential, need that space to be, need that space to be with what is, in order to operate at full capacity. So when your teen says, "Oh, I'm bored," you can either tell them, "That's great for you. It's perfect for your developing brain." Or you can just tell them, "Go outside and entertain yourself, and I'll see you at dinner time." See what happens. Let your teen feel that they are enough as they are. Let your teen feel that they are complete and full, that they do not need an influencer or an entertainer or a peak performance athlete to show them how to be. Give them the room to discover their value, their worth, their unique sense of self, their vision for the future, their dreams for themselves and for the world, their affection and connection for their pets, for animals, for nature, for their community, for their home. And invite that quality of open awareness, of simply letting everything be as it is, letting everything rest in spaciousness, with the mind open, the heart open, to feel those connections. And it's not just connections with ideas. It's connections with life, connections with the current of beingness. So this summer, I encourage you to invite as much unscheduled, unstructured time. Let the activities be the anomaly, and the open space be most of what you fill the days with. And see what comes out of that, and be aware of the teens in your life and how that allows them to settle in themselves and feel like themselves and feel connected with themselves. And I encourage you to stay in touch with us. Join our newsletter at innerstrengtheducation.org. And I wish you a wonderful rest of the summer, being with things as they are. I look forward to talking with you next episode. Stay well. Thanks for joining me on the Conscious Classroom. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and leave a review. It really helps other people like you find the show. And thank you so much for caring about the inner lives of young people and the future of education. I'm your host, Amy Edelstein, and I look forward to seeing you next time.